All right, everyone, welcome to the first live in a lecture series that I'm going to be trying to do every Tuesday and Thursday. We're going to be going live on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube all at the same time. We're going to try it out. We're going to get it going. And so today we're going to be talking about what is marketing. And if you're on Instagram right now, you're not going to be able to see you're not going to be able to see the presentation. It's all good. Just follow along. If you want the full presentation, make sure you comment the word marketing and I'll send you the whole presentation or the video, the link to the YouTube channel and YouTube video. Okay. So first and foremost, what we're talking about today is what is marketing. There's a lot of things that are going on in the world with AI, with social media. A lot of people are doing the yapping challenge, or they're trying to go from 0 to 100,000 followers on Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is that they're trying to improve and scale. For some reason, it's a lot of Instagram content talking about how to grow on Instagram. Obviously, that makes sense. But when you go to TikTok, it's not as much. If you go to LinkedIn, it's not as much. And so today we're going to be talking about what is marketing in general. And from there, we're going to be able to extrapolate even further every single week. So Tuesdays and Thursdays is when we're going to be doing these live sessions. On LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, you'll see the actual structure and the actual presentation. Okay, so today, what is marketing? We're going to be talking about how to take media and turn it into revenue. That this is a century old blueprint. This is not something that I made up or I created. I just followed the blueprint that has been going on for centuries. Okay, taking media, whether that's Hollywood, whether that's Broadway, whatever it is, taking media and then turning it into revenue. You obviously see this on Paramount. You see this on Netflix. You see this on Peacock, whatever it is. They turn media into revenue, and you can do this for yourself in your business. This is how it's done. This is what we do here at Signal Media. I'm going to give you guys the blueprint. So what is actually working in modern marketing is going from media to revenue. So how do we do that? First and foremost, we need to figure out what marketing is not. Okay, marketing is not just posting. Okay, marketing is not paid ads. These are all components of marketing. But remember that the tools do not equal the action, the activity, right? So most people are confusing marketing with the tools that make up marketing. Okay? You are not an arm. You are not a leg. You are a person. You are a human being. And so that's how marketing works, is there are components and there are adjacent angles of marketing, but marketing is not the tools or those adjacent angles. Okay? So to clarify, those things are part of marketing, but marketing is the actual system. And what is a system? A system is a group of independent parts that work together um, to form a connected whole. Okay, to form a connected whole. And so today we're going to be talking about what is marketing, and we're going to be going down the entire blueprint of what is marketing, how to do it, and how we've been able to do it for our clients, which uh, we just did the analytics for the last month, and we've done over 2.5 million views, which translated into, I think it was 47,000 comments, which is insane because all those comments, they end up going into an automation and then that goes to our sales team. And right, so the whole blueprint, that is marketing. Posting is a tool of marketing. Okay, marketing is the entire system, and I just went over the definition of a system, which is independent parts, groups of independent parts that make up the whole, which is marketing in this case. If you take your arm, leg, head, everything together, that you create a human being. Okay, that's how marketing operates. And so what is that system do? What does that system accomplish? This is the definition of marketing. Marketing is the system that your business or your personal brand, which eventually you should turn into a business. Me and my wife talk about it all the time. There's no point in life, in my opinion, to become famous and not make money from it. You lose at some point you're going to lose credibility, you're going to lose trust, and at some point you're going to lose privacy as well. Might as well get paid for it, right? So marketing is the system a business uses to understand a market, earn attention, create demand, build trust, communicate value, and move the right people toward an action that you want them to act upon. Okay. So that's what marketing is. It's the system of understanding people, communicating value, earning trust, and creating an action. Okay, I'll say that one more time. Marketing is understanding people. Okay, we do this through data. We also do this through subjective data. So you have subjective and you have objective data. So subjective data could be um, a comment where someone says, "Hey, I really like this product." Okay, how many of those comments are you getting? Can you put those into a spreadsheet and understand, oh, we're getting this comment a lot? That's subjective. We got 10 comments that sounded like this. And then you have objective data, which is simply, are people taking action? Are they interacting with the content in terms of likes, shares, sales? At some point, you're going to get to sales. So you have subjective data and you have objective data, but you understand people, you communicate value. Typically you want to communicate value in as simple as possible. So we often say, like, you want to communicate your value or your value proposition in eighth grade or under. um, um, Eighth grade or under, understanding, right? Comprehension. Then you earn trust through marketing. Marketing earns trust, and then you create an action. Okay, it's moving people into the to the point of action. Okay. So first things first, what you offer, the bridge into the people who need it, is marketing. Okay. So what you offer, and then people who need it, and that bridge is marketing. Very, very simple to understand. So marketing begins, this is where the word comes from. Marketing begins with the market. You have to understand your market first. The People talk about Warren Buffett and how he reads 8 hours a day. What is he reading? He's reading the market. He's understanding the market. And the more you understand the market, the better you can market, right? Marketing is the action of knowing the market. Okay. So first you start with the market, understand it. Next, once you understand the market, now we have to message the market. We have to talk in a way, we have to talk in their language. We have to talk in the language of the market. Okay. That sounds very, very redundant, but that is what marketing is. It's talking to the market. So messaging is really important. This is where copywriting comes in. And again, marketing is not the tools, right? Marketing is not the tools in and of themselves. It's all the tools working together. So that's why when you talk about copywriting, advertising, branding, those are all adjacent or components of marketing. Okay. When you talk about the copywriting, the visuals, the media, those are all components of marketing. Once you understand the market, then you go into that messaging, and that's the copywriting piece. So understanding the messaging. So we understand the market, we have our messaging in place, and now we need to generate attention. Okay? So if you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube afterwards, um, or Facebook, you can see my screen. I'm talking to Instagram specifically right now because they can't see. But you have marketing, you have the understanding of your market, you have the messaging. This is where copywriting comes in, being able to speak to the market in their own language, and then you have the attention piece. Once you have the attention piece, then you need trust. Okay, so cool, you got my attention. You got my attention. What are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to fix? How do I know it's for me? Okay, so market understanding, messaging, attention, and then trust. And then lastly, once you understand the market, once you have your messaging in place, so you're talking to the market in their own language, then you have the attention piece. Now I have a lot of people that I'm messaging in my market, the correct people. Now I need to build trust with them. I need to tell them things that allow them to trust me. Once all that happens, then you can move them to an action. And one of the issues, I'm going to go over it here soon, but I'm jumping ahead. One of the issues that I see right now, typically, is that people understand the market, they have great messaging, but they haven't built trust. And so I tell you, hey, I've earned $100,000 this month from this PDF that I sold, I'm not building trust with you because I'm not giving you value over a long period of time. Okay. And we're going to go into that later on in the lecture series, but building trust is one of the key components that I see a lot of people not focusing on and not checking that box before they try to move someone to action. So more activity does not automatically create growth. Okay. Posting more does not automatically increase growth. There are accounts out there, you can go see them. I should probably have examples, but you can go out there and there's accounts that have posted 1,000, 2,000, sometimes 4,000 times, but they don't have the follower growth of an account that has posted 200 times or 300 times. And so activity does not automatically create growth. And that formula that I just showed you is another, this is just another supporting angle from that. So let's do an example real quick. Okay, if you're on Instagram, then I'm going to illustrate this for you. You guys can see my screen on LinkedIn, Facebook, and I think that's it. A gym needs more members. Okay, we have a gym. We need more members. The week approach, the approach of let's just do more, is we need to post 3 times per week. Okay, and we've said this to clients where we need to post X amount of times. You do need to put in effort, you do need to put in activity, but that doesn't necessarily equal success. That doesn't necessarily equal the growth and the sales and the revenue that you're looking for. We need to post 3 times a week is not a strategy. Okay, that's not a strategy. That's an activity within the strategy. Okay, I'll say that one more time. Posting 3 times a week is not the strategy. That is an activity within the strategy. First, you need to start with a specific audience. Okay, going back to what we said at the beginning, you need to understand the market. Most people are trying to market without knowing the market. There are a lot of companies out here that say, we will post 25 times a day for you. But the problem is they're not reaching a specific audience. They don't know how to speak to that audience. Okay. Even in the sense of formats, understanding the format that works and might get you a lot of views, dancing videos on TikTok or trendy videos, even if they are info and educational content, not knowing the specific audience and not knowing how to talk to them specifically for them is going to hold you back. Okay. So start number 1 with the specific audience, understand them more than they understand themselves. You need to get specific. Okay. You need to understand your audience specifically. So let's say, this is better. This isn't fully fleshed out. You can spend days on your specific audience. But let's say busy professionals who want confidence and fitness without gym intimidation. They don't want to be intimidated by the gym. They're busy and they want more confidence. They want to, they've probably been working on the business for a very, very long time. They've now gotten to a point where they're successful, but they are 100 pounds overweight. Okay. And they don't want to be intimidated in the gym because that's obviously why they haven't been going, is because they're intimidated by people who have been working out. Okay. So we're tuning into a specific audience, busy professionals who want more confidence and fitness without gym intimidation. Okay, so this is the key implication here, is you want to have a clear audience. Having a clear audience can change the message. Okay, so you have your audience and now we have our message. Okay, our message is specifically to this tailored audience. This isn't just, we need to fill our gym, three posts per week will do that. So you have your audience, then you create your message, and then the message is going to change and improve the content. Okay, so you have your audience, you have your tailored message to the audience that you have gone through days and days. You guys can spend days, if not a week, on just looking at and getting specific on your audience. So once you've done that, then you can create messaging tailored to that audience. Because let's face it, AI is here. AI has access and understands, once you give it a specific audience, it can give you better tailored messaging, and then it's your job to go into that 80% copy and tweak and make adjustments. Make it, like I said at the beginning, make it tailored to an 8th grade an eighth grade understanding, okay, a eighth grade level of reading, okay, and then you create the content, okay, because if you don't get that messaging right, then um, the content isn't necessarily going to land with the people that you want it to land with, okay, or that audience that you want it to land with. So audience, messaging, content. Once you have the audience, once you understand your audience better than they even understand themselves, then you have the messaging that's going to speak to that audience. Once you have that, then you have content. Okay, now we've created the content, and now we're going to make offers and we're going to distribute that content. So, making the content is not the same thing as posting the content or distributing the content. Side note, this is what I typically look at as if you had a package, if you had a beverage company or like we were selling water bottles, right? It would be very important for me to know who am I giving this water bottle to. Once I know who I'm giving this water bottle to, then I need to understand the benefits of having this water bottle compared to a normal water bottle, right? And so if I do that, I can talk to you in a way that's not, oh, this water bottle holds water. It's this water bottle is made for runners. And if I can understand how runners talk, if I can understand how busy professionals talk about about their water bottles, then I can specifically target that person. And once I can specifically target that person, then I can create content and visuals and media around that. And then once I have that, then I can give them my offer. So this water bottle has all these different things that you know that you need and that no other water bottle does. And here's my offer. It's $19.95, right? Once you have that, then we need to give it to as many people as possible in that audience. So that's what offer and distribution is. So how do we communicate value? Okay, value has to outweigh the cost. It has to outweigh the effort. It has to outweigh the time, the risk, and the uncertainty. Okay, that's what the offer has to do. And Alex Samosi talks about this with the value equation, and you can go look that up, what the value equation is. But the idea here is that if I'm giving you this water bottle, it has to have a cost associated with it that makes sense. So a good way of doing this is look at every other water bottle in your category and figure out which one, where can you squeeze that price in. Even if you want to be premium, you don't want to be too premium, right? You don't want to sell $150 water bottle. It doesn't make sense. So it has to be uh, cost adjusted to the audience that we're looking for. It has to require zero effort. So like I don't have to put it together every single time I use it, right? I don't have to, that's my big thing with these filter water bottles is like I have to change the filter and then I have to wash the filter and all that stuff. I'd rather just have my water filtered and go, right? So cost, effort, time. If I order a water bottle and it gets here in 48 days, it's just not worth it. I'll just go to Walmart and get it. And then risk. So if it had like jagged edges or whatever, and I'm a runner and I'm constantly, hurting myself, for example, or like it's like a time bomb or something like that, it blows up after a certain amount of time, that's a risk, right? The other thing about risk is that the risk of me buying this water bottle compared to the other water bottle does play into the buyer's psychology as well. But then the last one is uncertainty. How do I really know that this holds water? Right? And so you need to mitigate all that with your value, with when you communicate the value, right? A good way of doing this is why David Ogilvy, the greatest marketer of all time, he said that showing is better than telling, right? So that's why QVC does so well, is because they're showing you the whole process as you're watching the show. And so if you can tell over show, then you're in a way better position because I've answered all those questions. Cost, I can tell you the cost. Effort, I can show you. Time, I can show you. Risk, I can show you. Uncertainty, I can show you. So I show you everything, and if you can target the right person, a 65-year-old male, and I have him holding the water bottle. That's why these ads work. That's why this type of marketing works. It's because the communication of value is so simple when you show people over when you tell people, right? Next, why should I believe this will work? Okay. How do I reduce uncertainty when I'm selling or when I'm marketing? Why should I believe this will work? Okay. Again, showing is way better than telling, but make sure you're answering that question for your viewer. Why should I believe that this will work over this, right? This is big for service-based businesses like ourselves. We have to tell them, we have to show them, why should I believe that this will work, right? Another, I'm going to go through a couple questions that the buyer is asking, okay? Because at the end of the day, like I said at the beginning of this is media to revenue. How do I make money? How do I make money from my media, from my marketing dollars, okay? The buyer or the viewer or the follower or the community, the next community member for you is asking, is this for me? Okay? Is this for me? Next one, do you understand my problem? Do you understand my problem? The in the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, he says the sweetest word in the English language is someone's name. Okay? If you say my name, Andrew, I'm immediately paying attention, right? Now, we can't go through and run marketing and ads for specific people and say Andrew and, Victoria and Jabari and Ayuk. Like, you can't just go out there and say their names. So I need to prove to you that I understand what you're going through. I understand your problem, specifically yours, right? And this is why in marketing a lot people do call outs, or in advertising people do call outs. If you're a busy professional, 45 years 45 years to 65 years old, and we call them out because we try to get as specific as possible, but we can't necessarily say their name, right? And so the question is, do you understand my problem? That is a way of understanding your problem subconsciously. If I say your name, right? If I say Jabari, and you'll be like, oh, he already understands. He already understands me, right? He knows that that's my favorite. That's my favorite word, right? So, do you understand my problem? The first one is is this for me? Do you understand my problem? My problem specifically? And then why should I believe you? Why should I believe you? Okay? What do I do next? Leading them, this is typically where call to action comes from. But what do I do next? You need to eliminate the decision of like, okay, what do I do next? Just tell them what to do next. Click the link right here or comment the word here. Give them what to do next. And so those are the 4 questions. I'll go over them one more time for you. Is this for me? Do you understand my problem? Why should I believe you? And what do I do next? Those are the 4 questions that every buyer is going to ask you. You need to make sure that you're answering that in your marketing, in your advertising, right? So remember that clarity comes before content. You need to understand your audience better than your audience understands themselves, right? And then you need to eliminate all those questions in your marketing. Because, like I said, clarity comes before content. Make sure you're clear on what you're doing before you start posting, before you start distributing. One more time, going back to this example, to the water bottle example. If I haven't answered all those questions, then I probably shouldn't go to market with this. I probably shouldn't put it on my Shopify store. I probably shouldn't put it in my content if I haven't answered those questions. Is it for me? Is it for me? Do you understand my problem? Why should I believe you? And then what do I do next? If I haven't answered those questions, I probably shouldn't go to market. Okay, clarity comes before content. Before you make anything, get clear on your audience, the problem, the outcome, the offer, the proof, the point of view, and then their next action. Once you have those, you can go to the next. You can go to going to market or marketing, right? So one thing that I want to get clear on as well is that ads amplify your content. Ads amplify the things that are working. You put money behind things that are working. Most of the time, you're not going to pay for a business or for an opportunity that's not already making money, right? That's not clearly like you do due diligence. Ads are the same way. You're putting money behind creative. You're putting money behind marketing, right? So ads amplify, they don't fix what's not working, okay? So make sure that we're fixing what's working before we add money behind it, okay? So organic learns, paid scales, okay? This is how we operate here. This is how we've operated for the last 7 years, going through the process of organic content, creative learning, and then paid amplification. Okay, so if you we call it the rule of 100, right? So for us, when we have a new client, the first 90 days is, can we get 100 pieces of content? We've already researched, we've already scripted, we've already gone through the content, we've done it, 10, 15, we've gone through all of it. Okay, once we have that, now it's about, can we get 100 pieces out? Once we get 100 pieces of content out, we call that the second phase, which is creative learning, right? So organic content is 100 pieces of content, 100 iterations, right? So this isn't just the chat GPT pictures that we put out. This is not just motivational quote every single day that we put out. This is content that we've researched, that we've scripted out, and that we've absolutely nailed in the production, right? Then we go to the second step, which is creative learning. Okay, what are the numbers telling us? What is the data telling us based on the content that we've researched and that we've scripted and that we've posted, right? What have we learned? Once we have that and we have a better understanding, now we do two things. We go back to step one, but we also go to paid amplification. So we amplify those out of 100, let's say 80-20 rule. You have 20 pieces of content that are doing 80% of the lifting. We're going to redo those 20 pieces, and it's probably similar formats. It's probably similar scripting, and we're talking to the correct audience with those 20 pieces. And so we're going to redo those. We're going to go back to organic content creation, redo 100 of those 20. Then we have paid amplification. We're going to pay to amplify who sees that, right? Just think about, if right now, what I'm doing, I'm getting my reps in, right? I'm getting better at this over time, whether that's from a production standpoint or that's from an actual me talking to the camera standpoint, getting better at that. I don't necessarily want to be in front of 100,000 people right now, right? I don't necessarily want that because I'm not at my best. When it hits, when I get to a point where, our company is either generating leads or getting a ton of followers, at that point, maybe I should be in front of, 1,000, 2,000. That's how ads work. Do you want this piece of content to be in front of 100,000, 200,000, 2 million, 200 million people? No? Then you probably should test a little bit more on the organic side of things, right? So that's how organic learns, paid scales. So organic leads in the paid, because organic content, creative learning, paid amplification. One thing that we talk a lot about is branding. A lot of people ask me about what's the difference between branding, advertising, marketing. Brand is what people believe when you're not in the room. Okay, let's say that one more time. Brand is what people believe when you're not in the room. If you think Nike, you don't need Phil Knight to be, hey, so this is what Nike means, and this is what we're trying to achieve in the next 10 years, and this is who we're working with, and all. You don't need that. Nike is Nike, right? That's a brand. Now, when you talk about Alex Emoji and you talk about acquisition.com, people know what that means, right? Not as many people know as maybe a Nike, but that's how big the brand is, right? If you say Rihanna, right? Most people are going to know who that is, right? A lot of people are going to know that she has makeup and that she has all that stuff. But when you say these names like Starbucks or Target or Walmart, these are brands, because you don't need Sam Walton in the room to tell you what Walmart is, right? So can we get to that level with your business and with your social media? If I said your name, if I say Warren Buffett, you know what that means. You know what he does. You know what that means. You don't need to look up Warren Buffett, right? It's there. So that's what brand means. And that takes a long, long time to achieve. Time is very important when it comes to brand. Okay? Marketing creates demand, sales converts it. Okay? So how do you take media and make money with it? Well, you get the marketing right, and once you get the marketing right, you get the sales right, right? Now, another piece of that I didn't discuss here is product, okay? Product, marketing, sales. If you have a good product, if you have a great product, it makes the marketing easier, it makes the sales easier. If you don't have a great product, but you have great marketing and great sales, you're still going to make a lot of money. If you have an okay product, or maybe it's a product that maybe it's a product that like a water bottle, right? Like I don't necessarily know any water bottle companies, right? But if you have a water bottle and you can market it really, really well, um, I'm blanking on the name of the of the one water bottle company, but it's just a normal water bottle. But they've marketed it so well. They've marketed it so well that they're just taking off, right? As a emotional water bottle, whatever. Marketing creates the demand for the product. Again, product is very important, right? If you can get the product right, it makes marketing easier, and then sales can convert easier. If you don't have a great product, but you have great marketing and great sales, you'll do well. So, marketing creates the demand, sales are going to convert it. One great feedback loop that we use for every company that we work with is, and even if you don't have a sales team, this works. You get sales objections. So you get people through the door and you ask them, simple questions, what do you think about this? How did you like it, etc. And they'll give you uh, sales objections, right? I can't do this because I don't know if it works. Like I don't have enough trust and faith in this process to know if it works, right? Those objections create great marketing, right? So anytime someone says to you like, I don't have enough information. Okay, well, as a marketing company, as a marketing agency like ourselves, we can create media that helps people down the funnel much much smoother, right? We've seen, going from, let's say 10%. Um, let's say the sales team is converting 10% of the leads, okay, from our marketing. We get to a point where now we're doing that middle of funnel marketing where we're not getting as many views, but we're getting a lot more. Um, there's a lot more information being shown. There's a lot more education being shown to the audience. The sales goes, from 10% to 30%. Like it's that drastic if you have good middle funnel content, right? So and how do we get that? Sales objections. We get sales objections and we see comments and we see things that say, I don't trust this company, I don't trust this product, and we create marketing around that. We ask current clients or current customers, hey, what do you think about this? Well, I was skeptical at first, but now, I love this. I wish I would have done it sooner. That's better marketing. That allows us to be a better marketing company, and having that feedback loop is, in my opinion, is business. Setting up feedback loops is the entrepreneur's job. So, component number one, research. Okay, we talked about it at the beginning. You need to know the market in order to create the copy. And once you create the copy, then you got to earn trust. And once you earn trust, then you can move them to an action, right? So, marketing gives you the copy, or the market gives you the copy, sorry. Once you know your market very, very well, then you can have the copy to speak to them in a way that they understand in their language. And once you have the copy, then we go, uh, once you have the market, which is the research portion, you need to research a week, understanding a minimum, a week understanding your market. Once you understand your market, then it gives you the copy, which is the next step to talk to the audience, right? So then you get the copy or the positioning, because it will become obvious. You will become the obvious choice for the right people. Let me say that again. It'll become obvious for the right people. So when I say obvious, it means when I'm looking, and if you're in CPG, consumer packaged goods, if you look in Walmart, which one's standing out at you right now? Right now, there's, all the packages look the same. That's why you have these companies like Olipop, Bloom, and one or two others right now that are really standing out, because not when I look at their marketing, I feel like I'm part of a community. So when I go out there and I can see the logo, right? And I immediately resonate with that. So when everything looks the same, it's a feeling that, oh, I've seen that. I've seen Bloom. I've seen the CEO of Bloom. I've seen the partners at Olipop, and I know that it's good. I've seen so many people do it that I have to try it. We already like the Coke and the Diet Pepper and all that stuff. It's kind of old school. You look at it now and you see Olipop, you see Bloom, and First Form Energy and all this stuff, and you go, and that's what you want, right? because they've become the obvious choice for the right people. Component number 3, designing your offer. Okay, a vague offer creates a marketing problem. When you say, hey, I can do your marketing for you, that's a very vague offer and it creates a problem. I shouldn't use marketing, but I can do your lawn for you. Okay, like what does that mean? What's the price? I already have a lawn guy. Or going back to the gym analogy. Hey, come work out at my gym. That's too vague. That creates a marketing problem. We've dealt with clients in the past that they have they're in development, right? They're in the R&D stage, and they've hired us, and it's a little bit difficult to figure out what are we actually selling, aka what are we marketing, going back down the list, who is the market that we're after, how do we speak to them, how do we build trust, and how do we get them to take an action, right? And so a vague offer, we're stuck at that. How can we research if we don't know what we're selling, right? And so uh, once you understand what your offer is, then you can go through the process. That's why Alex Emoji put out $100 million offers first, and then leads, and then money models, right? Because you got to get that offer right, and you could spend a whole week on your offer, right? And so a vague offer creates a marketing problem, whether it's for your marketing team or whether it's for you. What are you talking about? Because if you don't research your market, that's where the word marketing comes from, is understanding your market. Once you understand that, then you can get the copy right. Once you get the copy right, then you can build trust with that audience because you're talking to them in their language, and you are basically telling them that either you're one of them or that you understand them. Once you do that, then you can move them to an action, right? And then number 4, creative makes the message felt, remembered, and acted on. Okay, so we've done everything, right? We've researched our market. We understand our market better than our market understands themselves, right? We are able to speak to them in their language to show that we are one of them and that we understand them and understand their pain. We now have built trust with them because our copy is so good. And now, in order to move them to an action, and in order to encompass the whole thing, we should package it into great creative, right? What is creative? Creative is videos and static posts, right? That's creative. So the creative just makes everything feel felt, remembered, and acted on, right? And then number 5, this is very important, and this is something that we offer our clients that I don't think many people offer. They talk about, oh, you get views and you get likes and you get shares, but are you creating a distribution channel, right? We have one of our clients that just crossed 350,000 followers, right? That is their audience. That is a distribution network, right? The same way that Netflix is a distribution network, the same way that Peacock is, the same way that Paramount is. These are distribution networks. You are able to create a distribution network through your email list, through your SMS list, through your TikTok, your Instagram, your LinkedIn. If you create all that under the Andrew Moullin name, brand, under the Signal Media brand, or under the whatever brand you have, your business or your personal, that is your distribution network, right? And the key phrase here is a great message nobody sees can't grow your business, right? You've gotten your message perfect. You've gotten the creative perfect. You have everything is perfect, from the research on your market to creating perfect copy, so that you are building trust with your audience because you're talking to them in a way that they understand, and that makes them feel like you actually understand what their pain points are. And then going into building trust with them through that copy, it doesn't matter if you don't have distribution, right? So a great message nobody sees can't grow the business. Okay. Lastly, conversion. A view is not the finish line. Okay. We talk about this a lot. I know now agencies are talking about it, but I don't know many that are talking about it. A view is not the finish line. You got 3.5 million views on a post and nothing happened, right? You didn't even get followers because your bio is not set up properly, right? The view is not the finish line, and I would even argue that view is just a starting point, right? I don't even know you, but I saw one of your pieces of content, and so that means that now you have entered my awareness. Now what? Right? Now what? So again, marketing is moving someone to an action, right? That whole blueprint, that whole line that I gave you guys, the whole flow, that is what marketing is. But it can be whittled down to the definition of marketing is moving someone to an action. Okay. So the view is not the finish line. To me, it's a starting point. You need to retain your customers, right? You need to retain your audience. You need to retain anyone who enters your ecosystem. You need to retain them, right? So your customer experience is part of marketing. Okay. Because the better you educate your customer, the more you build trust with them. You still have to speak to them in a way that they understand, that they feel heard, and that their problems feel heard. That is part of your marketing flow. That is part of your marketing funnel, is the customer experience. And so your customer experience is part of marketing. That's part of retention, right? And then after all that, you need to track the journey, not the vanity metrics. Okay, it's not just about being seen. It's about how do we get seen, right? That's the whole beginning part, is how do we get seen. As we're building distribution, we need to be going back and tracking all that entire funnel the entire time. Okay, so you need to track the journey, the customer journey, not the vanity metric, but the customer journey. Even if you get your first 100 posts out because you researched your audience for a week, you got the copyright, you're scripting in a way that's going to build trust and connect with the audience that you're actually looking for, and then they're actually taking an action, we got to go back and we need to understand that entire journey. Where did it work? Where did it not work? And that's what I talked about. The measurement piece is understanding, well, what measurements are you measuring? Right? And so this marketing is a lot bigger than most people understand, but it's also a lot simpler than people understand. How do I get someone to take an action? Okay? How do I get someone to take an action? This is not advertising, this is not branding, but it is a component of that. So the real job of marketing, like I said, it's moving people from awareness to an action. But the real job of marketing, in other words, is building a demand system. Okay. And what is a system? A system is independent parts that work together to achieve a goal. Okay. So you're building a demand system. The demand system, the goal of this demand system is to earn attention from the right people. Okay. You don't want a bunch of random people entering your ecosystem because they're not going to take action, right? The goal here is to get them to take action. If they haven't taken action, then the system is flawed, right? The demand system is flawed. So number one is earn attention from the right people, help them understand the problem and the solution. Okay, that's where we get the problem solution funnel. Okay, and once you have the problem solution understanding, and you're helping them understand the problem solution, then you have to build enough trust to be chosen out of everyone else, right? Again, like I said, if I go to Walmart and I look at all the water bottles in the Walmart section, who do I trust the most, right? Who do I trust the most? And that's where we build value, which I went over at the beginning, is how to build value. Once you've built value, then you've built enough trust to be chosen. Once you've been chosen, then you need to make the next step obvious for them. Okay? Give them the next step. Don't make them try to figure out what the next step is. Before you make your next post on your personal or on your business account, what you need to do is you need to ask yourself, who is this for? Who am I actually talking to? What do they actually care about? Is this what they actually care about? Because one of the biggest issues, and I know that I think it was Sony. Sony hired someone to come in, and his only job was to tell them where the business was broken, where the competitors could step in, right? The only job, they were getting paid like $400,000 a year, and they were basically they were supposed to be like this like fake double agent, right? And they came in and they said, you're missing this piece of the business, right? You're not understanding that you're not implementing AI, right? You're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not doing that. They were basically there to tear apart the business because they needed a third party representative, because most people are too close to their business. They're too close to their personal brand. And they're like, people should love what I'm saying about face paint, right? They should love what I'm saying about this. They should understand that this is the revolution of the century. But the problem is like you haven't asked yourself, what do they care about? What does my audience care about? Number three is, what problem are we solving? What problem are we solving? A good indicator of you're solving a good problem is, did someone wake up this morning and ask for my product? I have woken up recently and said, darn, I'm not drinking enough water. I need to get a gallon water jug. I have said that in the last 2 months. I've said that. It would be amazing if someone had imagine someone didn't have a gallon jug water bottle that I could have, like on Amazon, right? So a good indication is, do you believe that someone woke up in the middle of the night or in the morning and said, wow, my business, I have 100,000 person business. I need to make sure that our internet is stable. I need to make sure that our infrastructure, our digital infrastructure, is taken care of and safe, right? So cybersecurity is super important. That is something that you can actually, someone actually woke up and said, I need that, right? And they're willing to pay a lot of money for that. Number four, why should they believe our brand? Why should they believe us? Number five, before you post, and I would say before you run ads, but before you post, what do we want them to do next? What is the next step that we want this person to take? Okay. So who is this for? What do they care about? What problem are we solving? Why should they believe us? And what do we want them to do next? Ask yourself those questions before you ever post something next. You guys can't see this on Instagram, but comment the word marketing and I'll give you this entire presentation. I'll send it to you. So comment the word marketing and I'll do that. Also ask yourself, what is your biggest bottleneck? A couple of questions I've been asked recently. I'll just go through like two of these, but a couple of questions I've been asked recently is, if marketing is more than social media and ads, where should a small business start? You should start number one place to start is go through your research. Okay. Research your market. And obviously you can go to, depending on how big your business is, you can go through, the TAM, the SAM, the revenue, go through your entire business, because honestly, knowing your numbers is probably the most important thing that you can do in a business, and something I can improve on myself. But once you know your numbers and you understand where are my best clients coming from? Where are my best customers coming from? And then do a deep dive on them. Even ask them or send them, some sort of free gift card or whatever, and have them tell you straight up, this is why I signed with you guys. This is why I, bought from you. This is why I did this for you. Because then you can go through and say, okay, well, Jack was 60 years old. He lived in this city. He went through all this. He was doing this and now he's doing this. His favorite features of ours are these. He hates this. And you go through that and you'll understand more and more about your target audience, right? Going through that. Research that for like a week, understanding who your target audience is. Get really, really go deep on that. And then after that, then you're going to go through and see who in your audience, who in your industry is doing well on social media, right? Who's doing well on social media? Go through their funnels. Go through like 10, 15 funnels of people who are doing well and look at their copy. Look at what they're saying. Go through and literally copy word for word their scripts. Go through, copy word for word their landing pages, their VSLs, their everything, and write it for yourself, right? Go through, write it over and over and over and over again. This is something I'm working on right now. This is an exercise that I'm taking into account now again, is I'm going through 10, 15 of our, we have our clients. My goal now is to understand their industries even better than they understand their industries, and a way of doing the business side of things, not necessarily, a doctor. I'm not going to learn more about being a doctor than them, but who are they really targeting and how can they really talk to them? Because most of the time when you have an industry leader, someone who's really good in their industry, maybe you've been in the industry for 10, 15, 40 years, you're not going to talk to someone like myself who doesn't necessarily understand what I need when it comes to your industry. I don't necessarily know what I need when it comes to lawn care. I just don't want to mow my lawn, right? But maybe, maybe you need to pull out this weed over here and that'll make my grass not die, whatever. Or use this pesticide over here because it's a lot friendlier for the flowers, whatever. Understand how to talk to your audience better than everyone else, right? And once you can talk to the audience, it builds trust automatically because they're like, wow, this person understands me. It's like they know my problems. It's like they know who I am. They know me specifically, me personally, without knowing my name, right? So get good at copy. And then once you're good at copy, then go through the scripts and start writing a bunch of scripts. And once you've done that, then start recording the scripts. And once you record the scripts, make sure you get 100 posts. Once you get 100 posts, then message us and we'll take care of the rest. Last question. How do I know whether my real problem is lack of attention, weak positioning, a bad offer, or poor conversion? So let's go down the line again. Research your industry, understand your industry better than they understand themselves. Once you've done that for a week, 5 days, once you've gone through that, then the next part is where am I positioned in this industry, right? This water bottle is not positioned against the gallon water jugs that I was talking about earlier. It's not the same thing, right? This is 16 ounces versus a gallon. So it's not in the same place, but can I position this water bottle in a way that is unique, right? Stanley Cup. Stanley Cup is what I was thinking about. They positioned themselves in a way that made it seem that if you don't have a Stanley Cup, that you're like, like you're not cool if you don't have a Stanley Cup. And that's very interesting to do because nowadays, like people are sort of like anti-cool almost. They're like, you know, uh, they're way more health conscious than they ever have been. But there's like this like this anti-cool, like going back to the '80s type of vibe. But Stanley Cup was literally like everyone had like it was more for psychological help, right? Like I forgot what it's called, but it's like every girl had it by on their shoulder like this, and it like made them feel more comfortable, right? It was like their comfort blanket. They positioned themselves to do that. Yeah, we hold water, but like also you can hold it right here, and it makes you feel calmer, right? Liquid Death did a great job of positioning themselves and creating this whole world around this idea of like water can be badass too, right? And they actually went through a problem. Side note, they actually went through a problem where people thought it was alcohol, and so they had to change their creative, which is what we talked about earlier today. Is about how creative makes you feel, and it makes you take the action, right? If you have good copy and a good script, then it can actually make you feel like you want to take the next action. Liquid Death did this because people thought that it was alcohol, so they had doctors drink it, firefighters drink it, pregnant mothers drink it, right? And so that positioned them in a way that's like, oh well, it must not be alcohol if these people are drinking it, and it looks cool, and it's badass water, whatever. I say all that to say is that if you're getting 5 views per video, it's probably you're lacking attention, but you're not necessarily lacking just attention. Like if 100,000 people saw it, they probably still wouldn't like it, right? So it's not necessarily that. But once you get your offer right, once you get your positioning right, then and you know your audience better than they know themselves, then you can are able to go in and look at people in your industry that are doing well, copy their scripts word for word, copy them, write them down, see and read them. Why does this work? Why does this feel good? Why is this resonating with a large group of people? And then start working your narrative into it, start working your positioning into it, and start talking to your specific audience that you know. And once you have that, now the attention will go up. Okay, so you got to have your offer right, you got to have your positioning right, you got to understand where you are in this industry, where you slot in this industry. Are you high pre like is this a super premium water bottle? Is this a normal water bottle that has an adjacent angle to it? Maybe it's just a normal water bottle. Then maybe in that case you need to change your product, right? But once you have the positioning right, once you have the offer right, and you understand your audience, then the attention should go up. Once the attention goes up, the conversion will work itself out, right? So make sure you go through that entire funnel, that entire flow of what marketing is. And once you've done that, then you should see the attention go up. You should see, if you have a good offer, which is part of it, you should see revenue going up. But I see a lot of people in this industry right now that are in my industry, marketing, that are getting good attention, but their positioning is off. They just look like everyone else. They just seem like they are everyone else. The only reason that people like them is because they happen to, have a pink logo as opposed like they're more for women-owned businesses or specific industries, right? For me personally, I think that our positioning is a little bit more media based. Can we get great media? Can we get great copywriting? As opposed to, can we make you guys look good, right? We work with professionals. We work with great products. We go through with our clients and we try to figure out, is this a great product? Is this is this a possible industry leader? Someone who's been in this industry for 30, 40 years is going to be a great leader if they get the attention. Once they do that, then, which is what we do, we get them attention, we amplify them because they know what the heck they're talking about, and they can go on a stage and answer any question that someone has. That's a positioning factor. There's not many people that have been in the game for 40 years, right? So for me, one of my positioning, one of my positions in the marketing industry is that I've been doing it for 7 years, right? There's not many people that have been doing it for 7 years in social media, in organic content, that have the resume that I do, right? The testimonials that I do. So that's a positioning factor. Also, your content is a positioning factor. So the type of content that you do, this is why it's really kind of smart to not necessarily jump on trends, but make sure that you're doing your own thing. Going live like this is not something that a lot of people are doing right now. And I think that there's something to be told about that most people don't want to spend the time to go on live. And for me, I'm like, that's sort of a red flag. And that's why I've done this. That's why I'm going to be doing this. So those are a couple of questions. As always, if you're a business doing over $1 million, DM me. Just say, hey, can you help me out with this? We'll jump on a call. We'll see if we align, and we'll go from there. Nothing crazy. Super impromptu, informal at the beginning, just to see if we're on the same page. Once we're on the same page, we go from there. We get our team going. The next episode is going to be how to get your first 10,000 followers. This is something that a lot of people care about, but if you don't have this first video, this first step down, then you're going to get the wrong followers. And if you get the wrong followers, this is exactly what I said at the beginning. You're going to be famous with no money. Okay, and that's not a good place to be. You lose all privacy. You lose all accountability, reputation, credit. And so you want to make sure that you go through this entire step, understanding what marketing even is. And once you get that down and once you understand the workflow, then you can go to that 10,000 followers. This is not a task. This is not an activity. This is a function of the business. You have product, you have marketing, you have sales, right? And then you obviously have HR. But you have these are parts of the business that you need to make sure that you have, whether you're running it or someone else is running it, that you have competent people running your marketing. So Thursday we'll talk about how to get your first 10,000 followers. If you haven't watched this, make sure you watch this whole thing through and understand what marketing is, because you get those 10,000, it's not good if you haven't properly positioned yourself. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Appreciate it. Always, if you have questions, DM me. I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Peace.